free?
You know, there is one day when they are all closed, Monday. But you know, they are for free. Like every museum has its own day.
Okay.
Like not one day for all of them.
Yeah.
But very often it is Sunday or Thursday. Yes. So the church behind me is St. Elizabeth Church. There are many churches in the city center of Wrocław, like old churches, but there were just two of them parish churches, so churches for citizens. All the others were monasteries, so only monks prayed there. So one church was a church of rich people and one church was a church of the poor. This one was the church of the rich. Yes, the construction started in 13th century, they finished in 15th century. Yes, and the tower that you can see is very interesting. Another famous tower, even more famous than the Dumpling Tower. Yes, this tower now it is 82.5 meters high, so it's one of the highest towers in Wrocław. But in Middle Ages it used to be 130, so it was one of the highest, if not the highest, constructions in the world. You can compare two helmets of this tower. There is like one helmet you can see on this model, and the other one on the sculpture. There used to be like a sharp Gothic helmet that was on the top of the tower, which was much bigger than the new helmet. Yes, but this old helmet collapsed in 1530s when Reformation came to Wrocław, so the Protestants. Yes, according to the legend, Heinrich Rybisz, a Wrocław tax collector, who was also the person who introduced Reformation to Wrocław. By the way, he's buried in the church in there. Heinrich Rybisz, he, according to the legend, he won this church in the game of dices with the canonics. So, you know, dices like throwing dices. You know, you understand.
Yeah, you know.
No, because okay, so he won this church. Just a couple of months later, there was a big storm that destroyed the tower. So the Catholics said to the Protestants that, you see, this is a sign from God that you betrayed your religion, blah blah blah. And the Protestants replied that this is not a punishment from God, but the sign they did the good thing, because if we believe the chronicle, nobody was killed in this catastrophe. The only casualties was one dead cat and one broken glass of dark beer. Not to mention the highest building in the world. But who cares about it? Yes, so this church was always very unlucky. It was on fire so many times. There was some explosion that destroyed the tower in the 18th century. So many catastrophes and disasters. But yes, now it's okay. Yes, and the entire quarter with this church was surrounded with little huts like those. And this square here that now we are standing on was a cemetery. Now we are on the cemetery that is under this pavement. Yes, but those little huts are the last two remaining. The best one is called Hansel and the red one is called Gretel. So they are famous as Hansel and Gretel. In Polish, Jaś and Małgosia.
Jaś and Małgosia.
In Hansel, Eugeniusz Stankiewicz, the guy who was posing for the statue of a black man that I showed you, he was renting this house for 1 penny a month from the city, and has his workshop there, and yes, his workshop and just his flat. So a very good deal. 1 month, 1 penny a month. It's very cheap, and it's a nice place to live, you have to admit. Yes. So now there are some works of him inside and outside. So if you take a walk around, you can see more of them. And yes, the last thing I just wanted to show you is this monument, a monument to the cross that has the shape of a chest. It's a monument to Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, he was very famous Protestant priest. He was born and raised in Wrocław. His father was a famous neurologist. By the way, when his father retired, he was replaced in the Institute of Neurology by Alzheimer himself. So the guy who found Alzheimer's disease. But anyway, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, he was born and raised in Wrocław, and he was a famous Protestant priest, and he also was organizing some anti-Nazi opposition during Second World War. Because of this, he was taken to the death camp, and he was killed there just a few days before the war ended. That's also very Yeah, like very remarkable story that Hitler was already, closed in his shelter in Berlin, but he still remembered to kill people, so he personally called the crew of a camp where Dietrich Bonhoeffer was imprisoned, and he just ordered them to kill him just a few days before the war ended, but he still, remembered that he has some enemies. Yes, now we will go on this street, the Zwickau Street, to see some really nice contemporary design. Yes, so